Hello, I've created a plugin for Unreal Engine for SaveGames. So let me quick show you what my plugin can do and what you need to do to make it work. The core element of this plugin is the SavableObjectInterface. If you want to have an actor to be included, all you have to do is create an actor, go to class settings, and add the interface in here. So you would just say for Savable Object Interface here, and normally it would show up, but I already added it. Then basically what this does, base functionality, is it allows you to get the transform of the object saved, and it also saves in what relevance, relative positions and relative relationship objects stand to each other. Basically, so if something is attached to you, to this actor, or this actor is attached to another actor, this will be saved, and if you load, then it will be reapplied again. Any further variables, if you want to have them saved, you just need to add the SaveGame tag to them. So let's see, if you go for this, you go into advanced, set the flag to SaveGame. All variables marked with this get saved and loaded. And this is also possible in C++. You just have to go there to the property and the U property and write SaveGame in there, and that's it that you need to do. If you have an autonomous system, like for example particles, you might only want to save certain variables which are relevant for the next time you load in, not the exact state. So if you want to do this, you just use the two functions that can be override, OnActorLoaded and OnActorSaved. Basically, they're very literal. OnSaveActor is called on the last step of the object before it gets the variables serialized into the SaveGame, and vice versa. OnActorLoaded, it is already loaded. All the other saved variables have been serialized already, and then this function gets executed, so you can get access to whatever you want to have to. You also don't have to worry about actors being in sublevels. The system already works with the old level streaming system, but it also works with the world partition system. You just have to make sure the saved actors are kept within the level bounds, or they might unload at a certain point when you don't want them to be left. So let's say you have a combat arena and you have an actor placed as a part of this thing. You make it attached to your player. You would walk out of range, and then the arena gets unloaded, which also unloads the object. So you would no longer have it with you. Then you walk back, and there then would be the problem that the object gets loaded in, but it will still be where you had it when it was unloaded, and it's no longer attached to you. I will show you this issue at a later point. So maybe that makes it a little bit more intuitive then. Also, as you can see here, if you want to save other actors like references, you should always make sure to have it as a soft reference, because this is then saved as a path, and when loading it, the system doesn't make sure that it is loading in a certain order that is required. So if you have soft references, that is not an issue, because then you can just check, is the reference also already resolved, and then it's fine. Or if it's just attached, it works anyway. But if you have hard references and you have an an execution order where it is necessary that it is already there and you didn't make sure it's checked before that, or maybe other issues can come up because it's not already reapplied, and also later on the reference is basically lost because at the point of loading the other object might not be there, so it just clears it out and sets it to null. Yeah, this basically just avoids losing the object when loading. So always use soft references if you want to save references, save reference to another object. Then the next object we need to check is the save player state. Where did I have it? Save player state. So if you also want to save the player, you have two options. One option would be to have the interface applied to the player character. Perfectly fine. But I would recommend to use the SavablePlayerState. The advantage is here that it works better with replication in case you want to have the save game system also used for multiplayer games, because the player state is always replicated over the server, and then you already get the references on server side, for example. So did I forget anything? What is also an advantage? Right. Just like with the interface, here are also the same functions. They're slightly named different, but load player state and save player state. And then there is the function also apply save game data. This is just called the save player state is called before it's saved. Load player state is before it's after it's got loaded, and apply save game data can be overwritten or called if you want to spawn the player manually and you want to determine a certain point in time when the current save game data should be applied again. For example, if you don't want to have an automatic reload and reset it to a certain point in time, you might not want to reload the entire level, so you would just use apply save game data, call it. Maybe you want to do an override, but usually just call it and that's it. So this is the game mode you should use. It is not really necessary to use the SavegameModeBase. If you already have your own, you just should make sure that you implement these two overrides of the function, handle starting new player, and you override the restart player. The handle now starting new player just makes sure that the player state is getting called, that it has been loaded, and then it's applying the save game data, and with restart player basically same transition. This is just calling then later on this function. So then back to the Unreal Engine itself. There I created an example menu just to show a little bit of how what functions you have access to and how you get to use them. Key option, key importance is you go for save game subsystem. It is an editor, not an editor. It is an interface, no, game instance subsystem, which means you have access everywhere as soon as the game instance exists. So basically throughout the entire game, you should have access to it. You should not have any timing issues with this either. most of the methods are being applied and used asynchronous. So what you need to do is to hook up to the respective delegates. But yeah, as I said, you can access all these methods from everywhere. All you just have to do is call, get the SaveGame subsystem, and then search for it. For example, the first method I want to show is the create new game. This one. Yeah, it's really literal. It is creating a save game file, and it then loads the level you reference in here. If you want to allow to use multiple save games by custom games, you should use the set slot name to set the specific name, what you want to have as the name of the file, and yeah, so you can find the correct one when you search for them again. Then if you already have a save game, you then want to load the level. This is over here. There you just enter in which one you want to load. And yeah, this is just loading the level that where you were when you saved, and applies then all the data. If you just want to change the level, you don't need to call load level. The thing you want to call there is change level. Just show it to you. This one looks very much like the create new game. The difference here is you just say which level you want to go into, and if you want to apply the save game data or not. But the core difference is this one is creating a new file, this one is just changing and then applying the data if you have maybe data already because you travel forward and backwards between them. Yeah. Also, if you just want to change to another level, you can still use the old school open level by name or by object reference. As you can see, it has the same functionality. You say which level. If you want to have the path absolute and add some options, same here, and it just is outside of the save game system. It just flat out changes over, doesn't inform the save game system which level you are currently in. So if you would save then, it would still think that you are currently inside the previous save game, and it might have some issues. I haven't checked that yet since I'm always using change level. So then if you want to reset the current save game data that is currently held in the subsystem, you should, or you have to call the method endGame. So here, endGame. All that it does is clear out all the data of save game references, and it also automatically returns you to the main menu, which you can reference inside the project settings for this plugin. If you don't set anything and it's a 0 pointer, well, then it is just trying to reload the current level. Not necessarily an issue, but probably not what you want to have. Then, yeah, just also forgot about this. If you want to load, you of course need to know the name of the slots. To get that, you need to call the method getSaveGameSlotNames. This just returns an array of all the allowed slot, all the save files that are available. You have to know there though, it really checks for all save files. So if you use the save files for something different, for example, you have settings that you want to persist, or I don't know, you have a persistent SaveGame file system as well. This is also in here. You might want to filter them out. This can be then set up also inside the plugin settings under project settings. I'll show this in a bit. Next method, what did I forget? Oh yeah, right. Then there is the get current save game. Most of the time you don't really need this. Just if you want to, for example, make a backup save for resets or whatnot, you do this after you loaded the game, make a copy, and then if you want to make a quick reload, you just load the data out of this file. No, it doesn't make sense. I'll have to cut this. But yeah, you just don't really need to use this method. But if you want to have object for modification, you use this method to call it up. Then there, of course, you need to save the game. Save and load is pretty much the same. You just need to say what name to save it to or what name to load it to, and it returns you if it can perform this action. There is a slight difference between saving and loading, and the difference is in saving, you don't need to provide a name. If you don't provide a new name, it just uses the current save slot name. Either you set it by here or it's the default slot name that is set up in the project settings. And for loading, there is the difference that if you don't provide a name, it won't load anything because it doesn't know what to look for. The last option that is relevant to saving and loading is the continue game. This is just a shorthand of save game and then check for the latest save file by time and date and load this to just continue the game, the last thing. If you want to use the screenshot system or other data you add to your custom save file to display in save slots, you should use the get save game. So get save game, and then on the callback, create event. As you can see, you get the name that you loaded, you get the index if you need it, and you get the save file. What you get, you can then take your own save game object and reference again inside the project settings what is the base class that is used. You make a cast to it, then you can get access to the variables and you're good to use them. So yeah, if you, for example, use it with the screenshots, you would call this through the when the callback for the get save game slot names, you use them to get the quick data, read it out, and then for visualization of the screenshot, for example. So where was I? If you want to manually determine when a save game is applied, yeah, I already addressed that a little bit before. So if you want to manually determine when the save game is applied, or if you want to apply it again because you want to reset the level without loading, yeah, you just call the apply save game data. This is then, yeah, you just have to make sure when you go to level change, don't apply the data and you call it, or if you apply it anyway and you want to reapply it, use this method to get it done. And then the last thing is that the save game files can of course also be deleted. you use the method delete savegame. Just like with save and load, you need to provide which file has to be deleted. And if you want to make sure that it is actually done if you're using the plugin in the editor, you get all the save files just as usual inside the saved folder, and then save games, there's the subfolder inside there. They're all there. The system also creates a second unique save game. I quickly hinted it before. Basically, I provide a persistent save game system as well. It has access to all the same methods. The difference is just that instead of save game, you call save persistent game or load persistent game. So if you want to create mini games or high scores and you want to keep them not in one save file but between all save files, you just, for example, use this system then. So I already hinted a little bit to all the project settings, to the settings of the plugin. Just as usual, it is set in the project settings and in the game settings, and here you can see save game settings. And you can reference here the widget you use for the loading screen. This is over here. No. Loading, oh, at the top, I'm blind. At the top, you can see, you can reference which widget to use for the loading screen. This is the example loading screen I'm providing. I will show you in a bit what it actually, how it works, what it does, what you can do with it. You can also set some more data for how it behaves in regards of the display of the loading screen and how the completion time is handled. So if you want to use to wait until the user confirms that the loading is done, use this. If you don't want to use it, that's fine as well. And with this one, with this time, you get the information about how many seconds does the screen have to be shown before the loading screen disappears. I would recommend to use a certain amount of time there always, because if you don't do it and you have very small levels, you might just have a flicker of a loading screen, and it feels better to actually see something because you also can provide further information or show off some artwork there, which enhances the feel of the game, of course. It also provides an autosave option. By default, it is off, but if you want to use it, you can activate it, and then you have the option to set what is the interval, and you can also decide if you want to have this time to be affected by the time dilation. So if you use a game with bullet time or speed up time, and you want it to be affected, just make sure you set it here. And yeah, as said before, if you want to handle manually if the player is spawned, when it is spawned, or how the data is applied, when is the data applied to the player, you set it here. And for the end game methods, you will set here the reference which level to load into. And as I said before, if you keep it empty, it's not a problem. It just makes it results in reloading the current level you're in. Then so we get to the sort and filter for get save game files, I showed before. By default, it sorts by timestamp, so the latest one is on top for display reason. If you want to have it the other way around, turn it to false. Also, if you use the autosave system, by default, it would always have the autosave on the very first slots with index 0. If you don't have any autosaves, of course, that's not there. then it's just the latest one. And here you can then also set the names to filter. So if I would show it here, you just write in what kind of names you don't want to have to shown up or you can just read the hint. So yeah, if you have settings or any other system files you don't want to be shown, filter them here. For the level change, of course, this is relevant to the change level method. This one is by default on, which results in, if you create a save game, by default it just creates it. It doesn't yet exist on your console you're using then with the play. It's still only inside the software. So if you want to create, or if you change into a new level and you want to make sure the player, if it crashes or if whatever happens and the player would fall out of the game and he then can continue at the beginning of the new level, keep this to true, because then it loads and instantly saves all the data before everything happens again. Then as well here, if you use this on level change, this makes then a new name for the save slot. If you want to make sure that it's always just one file, you don't need to use this because then it would just override it. But sometimes maybe you just want to make sure, hey, for the player, have it save in the new level, but don't lose the progress of the previous save, then turn it to false. And yes, here with this one, this would be if it's overwritten or if it if it always creates a new save file. Then for the save data, here you would then make a reference to what is the screenshot that is used by default. If you want to use custom screenshots that can, this is basically just there in case you don't have any screenshots taken that are saved into the save file. It would just use this data as a reference. Anything else that you save in, it will use then, of course, this screenshot that you saved at that time. Here, some more default values, like which is the default save slot name. As long as you don't use the set slot name, it is this. The persistent save slot name, same, just for the persistent save game. Save game class, if you want to use a custom, as in save game, persistent save game, same. If you want to use your custom classes that are used, just make a child of this object and reference it here. So we now get to the example. So now let's get to the example I was teasing before. First thing, I already placed everything inside for the setup. I created a save game mode, which is a child of the default, the base save game mode. I have a pawn just for basic movement and some functionality required for my example, nothing really fancy. And that's all you have to do here. First, if we start the game and I open the menu, I can show you there is an example save game already. So if I want to delete it, I can just get rid of it. As you can see, it's now gone. I'll just keep the save name, but in theory, I could just write a new one. But if I create now, because I did not reference a specific level I want to load into, we just load into the current level again. The most important thing, though, is that in the background, now we have a save game. I can show you it is here again. Everything's fine. So just to show how it works, if I now move this over and up a little bit, I can save this. So now that we have saved it, if I restart, open the menu, and load. First of all, you've seen the loading screen. It had a minimum show time of 2 seconds, and then it got removed. And over here, you see the reference updated for this object. So now, if I want to show you how this works with the attachments, first of all, let's spawn one and attach them. This is now the parent, this is the child. So as you can see, it follows. I move it, for example, into the ground. Then we save again. So we use this moment to also show you if I want to wait for the input. So go again, play, load. As you can see, 2 seconds have passed, still showing up. Now as you can see, yeah, it's still quote unquote working. In theory, you could now have here an change of visualization that please press to complete loading or whatever you want to write there. I did not do this yet, but so if I click now, there we go, everything works. And if you want to look into the outliner over here, you can see they have this hierarchy reproduced again. So now if I go in here and I'm using this one again, I attach it to the player. And now I will move just back. We will wait and wait and wait. You can see with the cube, now it's unloaded at the moment. So if I close it again and we jump over. So why did this work? The reason is I set spatially loaded to false. This makes it so that it is outside of the what is it called again? It escapes my mind. The world partition, the grid which the other savable object here is in. This is not part of it. It's basically forced by this to be in the persistent game. So now this works. If I would now instead go for have it spatially loaded, we start again. For now, I'll just create game 2. Now I can do the same, spawn, and let's do it the inverse. This is now the parent, just to show you. So if I would now have it attached to the player again, and I'll move, at some point when the object in the background is unloaded, a little bit more, there you go, it's gone. And now if I move back into range, where it's loading again, it is there. But as you can see, the button itself is not the button, the other cube is not here. The reason for it is because it did lose the referencing because it is the child of us. We can also do this the other way around. So let's go again. I don't know, create just a new one with the same name, same location. So I spawn, attach to player. Now we move back. So now, of course, the other cube is no longer attached to us either. And if we move in, there it is again, but it is again lost with the attachment hierarchy. So make sure that the actors that need to be saved with attachment to each other are always placed in the same level. easiest solution is to have them all not spatially loaded, to be in the persistent level, basically. But yeah, the other option would be then, let's go here back again. The other option would be instead to set it to a specific runtime grid to make sure they're also in the same grid to not get lost when you move outside of the cell where it was automatically assigned to. Did I forget anything else to show off? Oh yeah, right. Of course, the game also manages to handle deletion of objects. So let's say we, oh, first wrong button, menu. We delete first the save games both again, just to have a clean slate. Create new one. So just to show, this one gets to moved over here, and we spawn a new one, move this one over there, then destroy this one. Ah, wrong button. So now I save. And when we load again, first of all, we're now in the default and I load. As you can see, the spawned one is still there. The previous one I deleted, destroyed, is no longer there. And we got it perfectly replicated. So that's all I think I can show at the moment. If you have any questions, please write me a message or into the comments. And if you have any ideas how to improve it or other requests, do the same. And thanks for watching it. Bye-bye.